Hey guys, welcome back. Doing another video. I've mentioned this mower multiple times, and some of the other mowers I've been messing with. Um, Last video I was doing a messing around with that Murray Rider. Still haven't got it running right. I'm pretty sure I got the valves out of adjustment. Uh, Finally, update on the John Deere 300 riding mower. I got it back. It's here. I'm so excited. She starts, she runs, she revs, she idles, does everything that a mower is supposed to do. And I don't have the deck on it because the deck that came with it, unfortunately, is rusted out pretty bad, and don't think it's going to be a good candidate for being used unless I go through and do a lot of patchwork on the deck, which might be a bit extensive. This video might be a little bit shorter. It's like kind of sort of trying to rain on and off. I might just go into the shed here and just keep on filming, and you know how I like to ramble, so uh, might be longer than I'm thinking. Anyway, without further ado, here's the John Deere 300 riding mower for you. Give her a walk around here. This has a K341 Kohler engine on it. It's a single cylinder 16 horse Kohler engine on it. Might be kind of hard to see in there. I put the side covers back on it because I don't know. I think it looks cooler with them. Uh, Original problem this mower had. I bought this mower. I paid $320 for this mower. It was a very quick decision. I was actually on my way later that evening. We were going to go to Topeka to the drag races. It was, I believe, the last year they're having drag races in Topeka, and my friend wanted me to go, and I said, "Heck yeah, I'll love to go." I've never been to a NHRA drag race before. I've been to like more, I don't know, what do you want to call them, regular drag races where they have like funny cars and stuff, but never been to one that had like the top fuel methanol nitromethane cars, and that's a whole different experience. Anyway, uh, gonna be gonna be doing my regular tangents as usual. But anyway, this ties into this mower. So I hurried up. I got off of work. The guy didn't want to hold this mower for me. He didn't live too terribly far, about 20-minute drive from my house. Jumped in my truck, hooked up the trailer, headed to the guy's house. He's driving this thing around. It doesn't have the side panels or anything on it. In the yard, he's pulling like some little crappy home built trailer with it. And it didn't sound like it was running super great. But I'm like, well, it does run. So I talked to the guy a little bit, and he claimed that it just needed a carburetor adjustment. Typical, not my problem, next guy's issue kind of deal. He's claimed he put a Poynting condenser on it, and he rebuilt the carburetor, which rebuilding to some people apparently just means putting a needle and seat in the carb, which it didn't fix anything. Anyway, he was able to get her up on the trailer. Well, after some error, he told me it had a 38-inch deck on it, which I was a little bummed about. Well, lo and behold, did not have a 38-inch deck on it. It had a 48-inch deck on it, which I did a video on that trailer. It might be kind of hard to see tonight, way over there behind that blue pickup there. That trailer I bought, it actually came with this Snapper YT16 riding mower. It was a package deal, and I got a smoking deal on it. 175 bucks for the trailer, that mower, which does run, and I can mow with it, and a snow blade and a set of cables for the rear. But that's, I've talked about that before. Um, anyway, that trailer's made, well, it was designed for a mower with a 42-inch mower deck. This mower has a 48-inch deck on it. It wouldn't go in between the fenders, and the guy, I don't think, knew how to measure. So I just kind of went, there's no way that's fitting on that trailer. And the guy, oh yeah, it'll fit. Well, he tries driving up the ramps, and I can clearly see it's going to hit the fenders. So I'm in a time crunch. I'm going, crap, I'm like, oh, it runs, I can mess with this. So I said, hey, all right, what do you got for tools? Let's try taking this deck off. Well, lucky for me, it's a quick attach deck. Well, it's supposed to be a quick attach deck that hasn't been on there since the 80s, we'll say. Everything was rusted. I ended up beating and prying on stuff, spraying PB Blaster and stuff, trying to loosen stuff. I finally got the deck off of it, yanked the deck out from underneath it, and I asked him, here, load this up in the back of my pickup. I got to get going. So we drove the mower up onto the back of the truck, or back of the, not the truck, the trailer, and basically I took it home and I left it on the trailer and booked it to my buddy's house, and then we headed to Topeka. Didn't touch the mower at all that weekend. We headed up there Friday night. We got back, let's see, yeah, we came back Sunday because we stayed Saturday night. No, we came back. God, we came back Sunday or God, I can't name it. Saturday evening we came back. Man, I'm getting my days all mixed up. And that was the end of August. Whatever. I'm trying to remember, like 13th of August, something like that. Somewhere in there. I forget when that race was. But anyway, basically, after that, I was tinkering and tinkering and tinkering with this mower, pulling my hair out, which I know I got plenty of hair, but yeah, it was just driving me absolutely nuts. Ended up just I was about ready to sell the damn thing. I was getting so frustrated with it. I could not figure it out. It's such a simple mower. This mower was made in 1977. I was able to do some research. I joined a Facebook group that kind of specializes in, well, not specializes, but it's like they're a hobbyist collector group, we'll call it. And they collect these mowers, work on these mowers, love these mowers. And at first, I just absolutely hated this mower. It was the most annoying thing. I couldn't figure it out. Everybody kept saying, adjust points, do this, do that, do this, do that, put a different carburetor on it. You got to get an OEM carburetor for it. I tried everything. I literally tried everything. The points, the guy had already replaced. They had a brand new set of Kohler points and condenser, assuming they came in the kit. He put it on there and claims he rebuilt the carburetor, and he said it wasn't running right. So, and that's all I knew about this mower. And so I was just like, great, where do I go from here? So started with the basics, pulled the carburetor apart, looked at it. Yeah, it was super clean. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. It wasn't full of dirt. Jets were clean. It was clean. I couldn't find fault with the carburetor. When the mower was running, it would the only thing it would do, it was start and run at a quarter throttle, and that is it. You go no throttle, it wouldn't start. You go full throttle, it wouldn't start. You pulled the choke out, it wouldn't start. Didn't care. Even at a quarter throttle, you pulled the choke out, it wouldn't start. The only time it would start was choke all the way in, quarter throttle, and it would start. And it would sit there and run and run and run, and it sounded fine. But if you did any sort of acceleration, deceleration of the throttle, pull the choke, anything, just started bucking and jerking and just died. It was not happy. And that you could drive it, you could put it around at a quarter throttle, but it wasn't happy, and it was rattling and just not happy. Anyway, finally, just beating my head against the wall, arguing with people on that Facebook group, because they kept saying I was doing something dumb and didn't know what I was doing, and just, I was getting beyond frustrated with some people, and just, I'm like, I get it, you guys are trying to help me, but at the same time, it's just like, you're missing something. You guys are missing something. I had tried putting a coil on it. Yeah, that we'll come back full circle to that, and didn't help. Finally, I just said, you know what? Oh, and the last thing I did is I tried adjusting the valves. They weren't that much out of adjustment. I forget what the specs are on them, but weren't that much out of adjustment. And I just went, well, I don't know what else to do. I'm literally out of ideas. So called up a local small engine guy who people were giving a lot of flack for being a seasoned small engine person. And the worst thing is, I'm an automotive mechanic. Something to say, I did not start working on small engines. I actually started on my 4-cylinder Ranger pickup. Never touched a small engine. So if some of you guys might be wondering, well, how didn't you figure this out? This should have been a no-brainer. I just never was around small engines to the point that I ever took one apart. So I just kind of skipped that. Especially being somebody who's into engines and stuff, I just never messed with them, so I don't know enough about them. So it was very, very frustrating deal for me to deal with. And, I felt kind of stupid. I ended up giving it to a small engine guy, but I said, hey, he's a small engine guy. He's messed on with small engines. And he's an older guy. I mean, he's old enough to be my dad. He's in his, I wouldn't want to say in his 70s. That guy's doing this. And he's been doing this as a hobby. He's not a professional. He does this as a hobby. But he has a shed with a mower hoist and chain hoist, all that stuff. I'll say he knows enough. He knows enough. He knows more than I do. Anyway, I said, hey, would you be willing to take a look at this mower for me? I've tried this. I gave him the whole list of all the stuff I had tried. And I said, feel free to double check what I've done. Make sure I'm not an idiot. I didn't do something wrong. Maybe I misadjusted the valves. Did something goofy when I installed the carburetor. I will say before I gave it to him, I tried getting an eBay carburetor for it. One of them $40 eBay carburetors for it, the eBay Chinese ones. And it didn't run any different. It was running exactly the same. When it was running, it was spitting gas out of the carburetor, and I couldn't get it to quit doing it. And the weird thing is, it didn't smoke. It didn't do anything like that. And it was like it was running really good. I was like, man, it runs great at a quarter throttle, but only a quarter throttle. Anyway, so and I'd tried adjusting the governor, all that stuff. Just absolutely everything I could think of, and ended up. I ended up bringing it to him. He looked at it. He was scratching his head. He was having a hard time figuring it out too, and he finally just called me and said, I don't know what else to do for you. He's like, I tried everything. I tried everything you did. I tried a couple other things. I tried readjusting the points, checking some wires, made sure you didn't have the coil wound backwards. He said, one thing I did notice, though, that coil's getting really hot. And I was like, well, it's mounted to the engine, and that's the way they're supposed to be. They mount them to the side of the engine, which I might be able to show you here. Open the hood. If you look real close, you'll see where my hand is. That there's the coil. It's mounted right to the side of the engine there. So yes, it's not it's not water cooled engines, air cooled. They do get hot. And then I'm like, oh, maybe it's just getting hot from that. And I didn't really pay it much mind. And so he's like, yeah, maybe that's all it is. And just kind of dismissed it. And I was like, I don't know, maybe try a different capacitor or something. Maybe the capacitor guy put on there. He tried that and said it didn't do anything. So he put the old one back on it. And then he, finally said, why don't you try bringing that Chinese carburetor you have? And I said, well, I had some problems. It didn't quite fit right, and linkages and stuff weren't made the correct way. And I think it's for an engine like that, but I don't think it's for that exact engine. So, unfortunately, couldn't use that carburetor. So I told him, tell you what, I'm like, I hate to do this, but I'm gonna go. There's a website called iSafeTractors.com. They deal with Kohler engines. It's kind of their bread and butter. And they had some videos online, which is where I got some resources for how to adjust the governor and carburetor tuning and valve adjustment, things of that nature. And as well, I got a shop manual for this mower that a nice person from the John Deere Facebook page was actually able to send me a PDF for. And I printed out the dang dictionary of John Deere 300 riding mowers. No joke, the damn thing's that thick. It's like 360 some pages of every single thing you could possibly think of. I mean, it tells you how to rebuild everything, the hydro, all that stuff. It's not super detailed, but it gives you a pretty darn good general knowledge. It even has wiring diagrams. And it also shows you all the attachments that came from John Deere for this mower. The snowblower, the blade, the tiller, the mower decks, and PTO attachments. Just like I said, all sorts of stuff, and it goes through like 300, I believe, to 316. Those mowers they all share similar things. They're not exactly the same mowers, but I think they're like the same chassis. So I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not a John Deere expert by any means. This is actually my first John Deere rider mower. I've never had a John Deere anything before this. Never had a Cub Cadet before this either, other than my Cub Cadet trail mower that is custom made that I built. It is harvest season right now, so if you're hearing a tractor go by, that's because it's that time of year. Or combine, might be going too fast. I'm going to say tractor. Anyway, yeah, we're just fighting. So anyway, I ended up getting a carburetor from iSafeTractors.com. It's a $104 carburetor. It comes as a kit, which I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet. This fixes it. Fine. I'm fine with this $104 purchase. Stick it on there, nothing. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, this sucks. I paid $320 for this. I've probably put $200 into it at this point. Say $30 for the coil, $104 for the carburetor. Everything else, I guess, was just adjusting things, which didn't cost that much. But, and I know that sounds like some pocket change to some of you, but like I said, I was not expecting to spend this much money on this mower. I've bought mowers for that amount of money for $100. So it was just one of those, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I did not want this thing to be just a nightmare. Anyway, by some stroke of luck, miracle, whatever you want to call it, somebody reached out to me on the Facebook group, on the John Deere Mower Facebook page, said, here, message me. I might have a solution for you. Message the guy, he starts talking to me, and he's like, hey, did you ever try putting a coil on that mower? And I said, yeah. And he's like, okay, how many ohms was it? And I said, I don't know, it's just a standard automotive coil. Then he goes, that's what you did wrong. And I said, what do you mean? Like, you got the wrong coil. I'm like, what do you mean I got the wrong coil? I'm like, isn't a coil a coil? And being an automotive person, I'd never gave it a second thought, especially working on American stuff. You know, I didn't work on European import, things like that. Said we're all coming back full circle to what I was talking about, coil. Anyway, we started doing some searching. He said, well, what's the part number off that coil? Gave him the part number off of the coil. It was just the one we had on the shelf at work, because we have some old parts, because every once in a while we'd work on a grain truck, you know, something old, or an older car or something, and yeah, you'd occasionally have a coil go bad. Anyway, gave him the part number off of that, and he said, no, that coil's not right. And I said, well, hold on a second. Here's the coil that was on this mower when I got it. There happened to be a number on that coil, a couple numbers on that coil. I gave him both numbers. And he looked him up and said, no, that coil isn't right either. And I was like, what? I'm like, how? I'm like the thing was running before. And he's like, maybe the guy that had it before you had the same problem and misdiagnosed it like you're doing. And I said, all right, well, coils aren't that expensive. And I said, all right, what's the coil I need to get? And he goes, okay, you need this. I forget if it's a 3 or an 8 ohm coil. It's specific to these mowers and some other, I don't know, oddball cars. They're like a Volkswagen Beetle, I think 1985 Chrysler Baron. Something unique about that 1 year model only. A lot of Volkswagen Vanagons, things of that nature. Some Renaults and some Fiats and, just odd cars. I'm like, this is an American-made mower. Why is it using a German coil, setting? Because it's what they call an internal resisted coil. It's not an external resisted coil like automotive applications for the most part use. Like I said, obviously there were some exceptions, as I had mentioned, the Fiats and the Volkswagens and stuff, and that Chrysler Baron. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, what? I'm like, all right, so I ordered it. It was like $20. I'm like, all right, well, last ditch effort. We'll give it a try. And at this point, it was still at the small engine guy shop because, I was just like, you know what? At this point, it's a learning experience for both of us because I'm clueless what to do next. He was basically just saying, I don't know what to do. Just take it home. And I'm like, let me try, let me talk to some people, and would you be willing to hold on to it? Because he had a shed in the garage to work out of. If you saw my mower sit outside. I mean, I do have a shed, and my motorcycle's sitting in there right now, and I could work on it, but then I have to put my motorcycle outside, and I'd prefer the motorcycle to stay inside, to be honest with you. Anyway, put the coil on there. He gives me a call a couple days later and goes, hey, it's running better. I'm like, whoa, really? He's like, yeah, it'll rev up now. I'm like, oh, yes. I mean, I was just lit, just super excited. He's like, it's still kind of running kind of funny. I think it's got a vacuum leak, though. And then he started asking me about the carb spacer. They have this little plastic spacer about the thickness of this. This is the lens off the light, so I got to put the screws back in it since I had it off. I was trying to glue the tabs, broke on the back side of it. Anyway, he said, yeah, he's like, that it's all warped, and I tried sanding it and stuff. It's made out of like some sort of hard plastic, and he needs to say, I don't know exactly what he did, if he stacked gaskets or made a spacer. I'm not sure what he did. Got her back together. I mean, I looked at it. It's how it's supposed to be, and it fired right up. I mean, he had it pushed. The throttle was all the way down on it. I'll fire it up here for you guys in a little bit, just to show you. And the throttle was all the way down, and he pulled the choke out. She fired right up, and he said it had been sitting. And I was like, what? I was like, yes. And just recently, I was pulling my little trail mower that I built behind it because I don't have the mower deck on the mower right now. And yeah, I was just super excited about it. So anyway, we'll fire it up for you and give you a little test, I guess, to show you. So. Pull the choke out. It's been sitting a little bit now. Ta-da! She runs. Keep in mind. And it's rattling because I have the side covers on it right now and I don't have the screws in the bottom. Yeah, I got quiet. So that's why it's rattling. Anyway, we'll rev it up. It's So right now it's running at no throttle, and I started it with no throttle, which is amazing. So rev it up here for you. Listen to how smooth that thing is. It's popping a little bit, but you know what? It's a 1977 mower, and it's also, I'm not putting any load on it, so that's it. Listen, that's a little bit off of high, wide open. It's not sputtered. That's just a fuel issue because there's no load on it. The one thing the Swansea guy did say is like, I think you're low on hydraulic fluid or whatever you want to call it for the hydro. And okay, and he's like, well, that's type F or high guard or high cran, whatever John Deere uses. Type F I'm more familiar with because the old Ford cars used to use it. Anyway, as you can hear, I mean, you guys have no idea how relieved I am that this thing runs, because I was like, I'm never going to get my money back out of this if I try to sell it. Because once you tell somebody that the thing doesn't run right, first thing they're going to do is bite $100. You know, and I was even bummed when I bought it because I thought it was in better shape than it was. Now, granted, I'm going to be honest, this mower ain't perfect. It definitely needs some work. But it's good enough for what I'm going to use it for. And I do have a lead on the deck. Local guy here in town has a 317, which is, they use a twin-cylinder engine on it, which is the little bit newer model, but they still use the same decks, what I've been told. And they said, yeah, it'll interchange. He said he's like, yeah. He's like, I got three 317 riders, and one's got a snow blade on it, one's got a tiller on it, one's got a snow blower on it. And he says, I got two good decks, the other one's junk. He said the one, he's like, I put new bearings and spindles in one of the decks. And he's like, I could probably sell it to you for the price of the bearings on the deck. And I said, yes. I'm like, I will, if I get this mower running right, I will definitely hit you up on that because I am very interested. He also said he had a 4-way snow blade for it. Might snag that, but we'll see. I do have a snow blade already for this snapper rider. And well, it's not a hydraulic blade. Obviously, it's an old manual one. This one can do hydraulics. It does have a hydraulic system on it. Like I said, when I bought this mower, I had no idea what I was buying. I just wanted a better mower. As I said, the 48-inch deck was a definite nice surprise. For those of you that don't know, and this was me before I bought this mower, there are two levers here. There, this one and this one. Sorry, anyway. These are hydraulics. I believe the inner one is for the deck, to raise it up and lower it, and the outer one is for front hydro. If you look right here, sorry, my hand's blocking it. These are hydraulic ports. So yeah, it can run hydraulic attachments, which, hey, that's cool. Actually, what I was planning on doing, and this is a future project, I don't know how quickly I'm going to get on it. Currently, I got this trail mower set up. You use a pin. You pull it out and you angle it, kind of like you do with the snow blade, you know, angle left or angle right. So you can do a angle cut to do a twin cut. If you got the deck in front, you could cut behind it with this. And that works fine until you get into a tight spot, and then you got to watch the trail mower because it'll either get stuck on the back tire on the mower, and I've actually had it. I used that Husqvarna mower to pull this with, because the way the axle is, it actually is better. This mower actually has a wider track. This actually pulls this extremely well. So might actually start using this mower with this trail mower because it works better. That Husqvarna mower has got really wide tires on the back of it, and you gotta watch it because it'll get caught on them. I've never tried pulling it with this snapper mower because the transmission's kind of wonky on it and doesn't like to back up, so I just try not to use that. I think I might have used it behind it once, but that was back when I still had the little tires on it. Now it's got these ATV side-by-side tires I got from when I was at work. Somebody took them off their side-by-side because they wanted a new set of tires, and they had a bunch of plugs in them, so I just cut all the plugs off and put tubes in them and stuck them on the mower. That was back when I was still trying to push snow with it. But so I had since gotten a snow blade for my pickup, so don't really need a snow blade. So that's why I'm wishy-washy on this one for this John Deere. But if it's a hydraulic 4-way, you know, that can go up, down, left, right, angle, tilt, whatever, all that stuff, maybe worth looking into. It all depends on what this mower is capable of. If it's getting stuck and spinning out all the time, it's not worth it. My truck just plows through it. It doesn't care. The only way it'll stop is if you hit something hard. It's to me, it's just a no-brainer to use the truck. That I had it on that snapper. The snapper is not a light mower, and it would get stuck all the time. I actually threw my back out and missed some days. I missed a day of work because I hurt my back. I was lifting the mower out of the snowdrift trying to get it out because it kept getting stuck. And that was before I bought that snow blade. And after that, I bought a snow blade. I said, never again. I had a Jeep Cherokee before, and I had the snow blade on that. That, unfortunately, one of the lifters collapsed. And, well, it didn't collapse. It actually blew the back side of the lifter out and destroyed the cam. And fortunately, that Jeep ended up at the junkyard, so I didn't have a thing to put the snowblade on, so I was like, I gotta find something I can put the snowblade on. And I was like, I always liked Ford pickups, especially like the 90s ones and like 80s and 90s stuff. And to me, they're obtainable because they weren't like astronomically expensive. Although that cursed blue thing cost $4,000, and 4 months later, I had to put a motor in it, and the motor had been rebuilt. So, although I will give it one thing, it's sat since this mower was in the shop, which was, well, shoot, almost over a month ago. That truck was sitting as long as this mower was in the shop, and the truck fired right up. So, not bad for an engine that should be in the junkyard. That motor that I put in there, that should be a demo motor, a demo derby car motor, because I don't know how long it's got in it. It was completely full of carbon and sludge, that engine that I bought. I paid $400 for the motor. We got it in the truck, started it, oil pressure dropped, and it started